Hey everyone. How's everyone doing today? Hello, guys. Hey Rodney. Hey Lady Coltrane. Hey Rosie. Hey VK. All right, guys. I want to bring you guys a quick little update on Diddy. There's another lawsuit that was just recently filed, and I wanted to bring it to you guys directly from the internet. Let me just go ahead and just bring it to you guys and just so you guys can see what he's being sued for now. It's a 15-page lawsuit, and it is from the New York District, Southern District, and it's a civil suit again. It's another civil suit. Let me just go ahead and bring this up to you guys. All right, as we can go and look at it. All right, here we go. All right, are you guys ready? And this lawsuit is brought. Hey, Dana. I saw it on IG. That's terrible. Pretty brown eyes. It's a white model, I think. Hey, everybody. Hey, Bishop. Hey. I just want to get ahead and read this, get through this, and then go on. So get off this live so I could start my new topic because I have YSL update for you guys. It was weird not having court today. Thank you for always. Well, I have some things for you guys for being the very best. I got Club Crucial, y'all. You know your girl be busy for y'all. So I got Club Crucial, some field trip stuff. All right, let me go ahead and read this for you. The United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Crystal McKinney, plaintiff against Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Bad Boys Entertainment, as well as Sean Clothing, LLC. We have the Bad Boys Entertainment Holding and Universal Music Entertainment Group. Okay. It says here they want a jury demand of jury trial. Okay. Plaintiff Crystal McKinney, plaintiff by and through her attorney Phillips and Associate PLLC, hereby alleges and averrs of the defendant, Combs, and all the other names I just mentioned. I'm going to just try to do this as fast. Collectively referred to as defendant, alleges upon information and belief as to all other matters as follows. The nature of the action. One, the plaintiff brings plaintiff brings suit against defendants pursuant to the New York Gender Motivated Violence Act. Wow. Gender Motivated Violence Act. NYC admin code, and then the code number is to redress the substantial and lifestyle injuries she suffered as a result of being drugged and sexually assaulted by Sean Combs or P. Diddy. It talks about this court has jurisdiction over this action pursuant to 28 USC 1332 as so far as there is complete diversity between the parties and the amount of in controversy exceeds 75,000. Plaintiff is a citizen of state of Georgia. Wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. If she's a citizen of the state of Georgia, why she's going to New York to do this? Why is she going to New York to do this? That's interesting. Don't you go to where the defendant is? Because Cardi B had to come to Georgia to do her federal suit. Why New York? I'm just wondering why. Of course you can, but I'm just trying to figure out why. Don't come in here with that mess. Don't come in here because you're about to be blocked. Don't come in here with that mess. All right. I tell you what, I'll take care of that. Hold on. That's it. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, it says Bad Boy Entertainment LLC is a domestic limited liability company licensed to do business in New York and is headquartered at 1440 Broadway, third floor. Okay, that's because the company's there. Okay, that's why they're doing it. Sean Cohn Clothing LLC is a domestic liability company licensed to business in New York and is headquarters in the same address. And Universal Group is a foreign business corporation licensed to do business in New York, and its headquarters is 22200 Colorado Avenue, Santa Monica, California, and 90404. Venue is proper in the Southern District of New York because it's a substantial part of the event giving rise to the claim, including but not limited to defendant Combs' assault of plaintiff occurred in this district. Okay. Procedural requirements. The New York City Victim of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act. 10. The NYC Victim of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act created a look back window on March 1st, 2023, which runs for 2 years for survivors of gender motivated violence, allowing them to sue their abuser regardless of when the abuse occurred. NYC Admin Code 10-1105A. Okay, talks about the case, the type of thing. Let's go down to the actual. Okay, we got the parties. Okay, let's go to the actual action. Okay, let's go here. Upon information and belief, P. Diddy has a long history of committing physical and sexual violence against women and men, as documented in publicly available lawsuits and extensive media coverage. On November 6, 2023, Cassie Ventura, artist signed onto Bad Boys, filed a suit in the in the United States District Court of the Southern District of New York, alleging that Combs provided her with copious amount of drugs before sexually assaulting her. On November 23rd, 2023, Joy Dickinson Neal filed suit in Supreme Court of New York, New York County, alleging that Combs drugged her, sexually assaulted her, and filmed a revenge porn tape of his assault. November 23rd, 2023, Lisa Gardner filed suit in the Supreme Court of New York County, alleging that Combs and Aaron Hall sexually assaulted her when she was a minor. On December 6, 2023, Jane Doe filed suit in the United States District Court of the Southern District of New York, alleging that when she was a minor, she was gang raped by Combs, Javier Pierre, and a third unnamed assailant. On February 26, 2024, Rodney Jones filed suit in the United States District Court of Southern District of New York, alleging that Combs sexually assaulted him, and provided laced alcohol beverage to minors. Defendant Bad Boy Records, we gave a history of that. All right. Then Bad Boys, the clothing company. Okay, here's the factual allegation. Okay. Plaintiff began her modeling career. At the age of 17, Plaintiff won MTV inaugural model mission on December 5th, 1998, a televised modeling competition akin to Miss America, and was awarded a modeling contract with IMG. Shortly after, Shortly thereafter, Plaintiff's career took off. Plaintiff modeled for Tommy Hilfiger jean campaign. Plaintiff was also featured in Macy's catalog, Elle, the Cosmopolitan, and Mademoiselle magazine. Plaintiff also made appearances in television and film programs such as MTV's Total Request Live, Fashionable Loud, True Life, and a movie with Joan Rivers. Furthermore, Plaintiff had international modeling gigs in Germany and Australia. A fashion designer invited Plaintiff to Men's Fashion Week to meet Combs. In 2003, when the plaintiff was 23 years old, a fashion designer invited plaintiff to attend a Men's Fashion Week event held by Caprinia downtown, located at 376 West Broadway, New York 10012. At the time, plaintiff was engaged in modeling gig in Miami, Florida, and flew to New York for the event. The designer told plaintiff that he would be introducing her to Combs, which could advance her modeling career. The designer told plaintiff that he would be introducing her to Combs, which could, I got that part. That number 38. The designer began to direct plaintiff appearance as he sought to ensure Combs found her attractive. For instance, the designer instructed plaintiff to go to Elizabeth Arden to get touch a root touch up to ensure it was platinum blonde. Okay, so she wanted her hair dyed. Okay. The designer also scheduled a stylist to put in hair extension for the plaintiff. The designer then handpicked a black leather coat with fur hood, a translucent chiffon beige V-cut shirt, fur-lined handbag, and jewelry encrusted jean for plaintiff to wear to the event. Due to the traumatic event to occur later, the plaintiff saved the unwashed clothes from that night in her closet where they remain in plastic wrap. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, she left the clothing so she can wear it later on. I mean, not wear it, but have it later on. Supreme honey. Okay. Wow. Okay. Um. Mm, interesting, y'all. She saved the clothing in a bag. Okay, thank you for that enunciation. Superiority. I still can't say it. Soon afterward, the plaintiff took a car to Superiority downtown, where the designer was dining with Cone and other guests. Plaintiff felt a little control over the event as she was directed what to do and to put on display for the others in attendance. Why don't she sue the person too? The person, that designer, is she suing the designer as well? Because it seemed like the designer is the one that made it happen. Why she's not suing the designer? Just a question. This is weird. Diddy, get out of town, cause they're coming after you, dude. Man, you've been doing this all these years. Lord have mercy, terrible, terrible. Um, mm. For instance, plaintiff sat down at an empty seat next to the designer, but he insisted that she sit down directly across from Cone instead. See, the designer need to be on this lawsuit, y'all. Do you guys agree? Once seated, Cone it made a very public display of coming on to the plaintiff in a sexually suggested manner, which continued throughout the dinner. For others to hear, Combe bestowed compliments on the plaintiff by stating, for example, that she was beautiful and that her eyes were gorgeous. Later, and at a more intimate volume, Combe told plaintiff was going to make it big one day as a model. Combe went on to tell plaintiff that he had power in the industry and was going to help her advance her career. Combe went on to tell plaintiff that he had, Combe provided plaintiff with his phone number as a suggestion, as a gesture of good faith in his promise to help her. Throughout their interaction, Combe was flirting, bordering on leering as he leaned across the table towards her. Combe also piled plaintiff with alcohol throughout the night as he repeatedly refilled her glass with wine. Man, okay, okay. After the meal ended, Combs told plaintiff that he wanted to get to know her better. Combe asked plaintiff to call him a bit later. Plaintiff felt consumed but hopeful that Combe would fulfill his promises to her career. Plaintiff meet Combs at his studio where he drugged and sexually assaulted her. Later that night, Combs requested plaintiff to come see his studio located at 321 West 44th Street, New York 30036. Plaintiff felt reassured that she would be with others at the studio rather alone in a personal residence. When plaintiff arrived, she found that Combs and several other men seated together. She found that they were passing around a bottle of Hennessy and joints. After plaintiff sat down, one of Combs' associates asked her, "Do you smoke weed?" To which she responded affirmatively. Combs' associate replied, "We've never had weed like this before. You've never had weed like this before." Plaintiff later to later came to understand that Combe had laced the joint with a narcotic and other intoxicating substance. Combe passed her the joint and plaintiff took a hit which felt very powerful. Although plaintiff insisted that she had had enough after that, Combe pressured her to imbibe more alcohol and marijuana by telling her that she was acting too uptight. Plaintiff felt as if she was floating. Seeing plaintiff was very intoxicated, Combe demanded plaintiff follow him and he physically led plaintiff to the bathroom. In the bathroom, Combe forced himself on plaintiff and began kissing her without her consent. Cohn then shoved her head down to his crotch before commanding her to suck it. Oh, Lord. Plaintiff refused, but Cohn pushed her head down onto his palace and forced her to perform oral sex on him. As she was being assaulted, Plaintiff felt panic and physically sick. Afterward, Cohn led Plaintiff back into the studio. Upon standing and walking, Plaintiff felt more and more woozy, then lost consciousness. Plaintiff walked in shock to find herself in a taxi cab, heading back to the designer's apartment. As her consciousness returned, Plaintiff realized that she had been sexually assaulted by Combs. Plaintiff felt humiliated and traumatized without recourse. Combs' assault has caused plaintiff long life harm. Following the assault, plaintiff modeling opportunity quickly began to dwindle and then evaporate entirely. Upon information and belief, Combs had plaintiff blackballed in the industry and utilized his significant influence to impede plaintiff's career growth. Plaintiff became severely depressed as she began to blame herself for the assault and for sabotaging her own career. The assault led plaintiff into a tailspin of anxiety and depression. In or about 2004, plaintiff attempted suicide and was hospitalized. Where everywhere, everywhere plaintiff looked, she was reminded of Combs' assault, and as Combs was an inescapable presence in music, television, and film. In the in the ensuing years, plaintiff had also experienced alcohol and drug addiction as she attempted to cope with the emotional trauma of being assaulted. Plaintiff has also experienced intimacy issues as she struggled to maintain emotional and sexual relationship with men. Plaintiff was married approximately from 2006 to 2010. However, her marriage fell apart as she had a mental breakdown precipitated by memories of the assault. Combs' assault has altered the trajectory of plaintiff's career, denying her a successful and lucrative career in the modeling and film industry. To this date, plaintiff experiences bouts of depression, anxiety, body image issues, feeling the worthlessness, and intimacy issues caused by Combs' assault. Plaintiff is a woman is a woman of faith when she was new coverage. I'm sorry. Plaintiff is a woman of faith, and when she saw news coverage of the lawsuit from Miss Cassie Ventura, Miss Dickerson Neal, and others, she knew she had the moral obligation to speak up. Plaintiff prayed to God before beginning the lawsuit, as she feared further violence and or retaliation from defendant Combe, but ultimately decided that she needed to speak her truth. Plaintiff seeks justice for herself and for any other Combs victim. Cause of action. As first cause of action, the New York City Victim of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act against defendant. Plaintiff repeats retaliation and alleges each and every allegation made in the above paragraph of this complaint as if more fully set forth here is at length. The NYC Gender Motivated Violence Act reveals revives any claim against a party who commits, direct, enables, participate in, or conspires in commission of a crime of violence motivated by gender has a cause of action against such party in any court of comp- competent jurisdiction. NYC Admin Code 101104. The above described conduct of defendant Combs includes sexual assaulting or abusing plaintiff at a music studio located in Manhattan, constitutes violent a crime of violence against plaintiff and is a crime of violence motivated by gender as defined in NYC Admin Code 10110. Defendant Combs' crimes of violence were motivated by plaintiff gender as defined in the New York City Administrative Code 8903. As defendant committed forcible sex upon forcible sex act upon plaintiff that would constitute felony under the state law, and as the conduct present a presents a serious risk of physical injury, whether or not those acts have resulted in criminal charges, prosecution, or conviction. The appellate division has held that sexual assault is an act of gender motivated violence under the law, as coerced sexual activity is dehumanizing and fear inducing. Malice or ill will based on gender is apparent from the alleged commission of the act itself. Animus inherent where consent is absent. Beast versus Haggis. The above described conduct of defendant Combs constitutes sexual offense as defined in Article 130 of the New York Penal Law. Plaintiff is a woman who is older than 18 who alleges demeanor, misdemeanor and or felony penal law violation, including but not limited to sexual misconduct. New York Penal L 130 dash dot 20, criminal sexual act in the first degree. New York Penal L 13.50, criminal sexual act in the third degree. New York Penal L 13.40, forcible touching. New York Penal L 13.52, sexual abuse in the first degree. New York Penal L 130.65, and sexual abuse in the second degree. New York Penal L 13.60. Defendant Combs coerced plaintiff to engage in sexual contact or sexual intercourse despite the fact that he was rendered incapable of consenting due to intoxication. Defendant Combs gave plaintiff several drinks throughout the night and a lace blunt. Thus he knew and should have known that the plaintiff was incapable of consenting to sexual contact and or sexual contact conduct. Sorry. Defendant's action present a serious risk of physical injury to plaintiff's defendant's action presented a serious risk of physical injury to plaintiff's personal, regardless of whether or not those acts resulted in criminal charges, prosecution, or conviction. As a direct and proximate result of the aforementioned crime of violence and gender motivated violence, plaintiff sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damage, physical injury, pain and suffering, and severe psychological and emotional distress entitle him to award and compensation. Why I keep saying him? Excuse me, y'all. Why they change it to him? Why did they change it to him? I thought she was a woman. Did y'all notice how they changed it to him? Ah, guys, did y'all see that? I thought I was making a mistake. That's why I went back and why they said him? I thought it was a woman. Okay, back to 100. I'm going to read again. As a direct and proximate result of the aforementioned crime of violence and gender motivated violence, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damage, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress, entitling him, you see that, him, to an award of compensatory and punitive damage, injunctive and declaratory relief, attorney fee and costs, and other remedies as this court may deem appropriate, damage as set forth in 10114. Furthermore, defendant Bad Boys Record, Sean Cone Clothing LLC, and Universal Music Group Inc. enable defendant Combs' commission of the crime of violence motivated by gender and thus are liable under the NYC Victim of Gender Motivated Protection Act. Defendants Bad Boy Records, Sean John Clothing LLC, and Universal Music Group Inc. enable and participated in the sexual abuse of plaintiff because defendants failed to, among other things, protect plaintiff from in known danger, have sufficient policies and procedures in place to prevent sexual assault, properly implement policies and procedures to prevent sexual assault, take reasonable measures to ensure that the policies to prevent sexual assault were working, train their employees to identify sexual assault and inappropriate workplace behavior, protect their employees from sexual assault, and adhere to applicable standard of care. Defendants Bad Boy Records, Sean John Clothing LLC, and Universal Music Group Inc. enable and participated in the sexual abuse of a plaintiff because defendants fail to timely and properly educate, train, supervise, and or monitor their agents or employees regarding policies and procedures that should be followed when sexual abuse of a child is suspected or observed. Of a child. I'm lost. I'm lost. Prior to Combs' sexual assaulting plaintiff, Bad Boys Records, Sean John Clothing LLC, and Universal Music Group Inc. knew and should have known that Combs was not fit to be in a position of authority. Defendant by and through their agents, servants, and or employees became aware or should have become aware of Combs' propensity to commit sexual assault and of the risk of plaintiff safety. Oh yeah, I gotta. plaintiff's safety, and at the very best, defendant knew or should have known that they did not have sufficient information about whether or not their leader, manager, and people were safe to be in the position of power. Defendant Bad Boys Record, Bad Boys, Defendant Bad Boy Records, they did it twice. Sean John Clothing LLC and Universal Group Music Group Inc. and Universal Music Group Inc. They did it twice. Okay. Knew and should have known that Combs posed a risk of sexual assault. Defendant Bad Boys, Sean John Clothing LLC and Universal Music Group Inc. failed to properly survive Combs and protect plaintiff from a known danger and therefore enable Combs' sexual assault of plaintiff. Number 107. Defendant Bad Boys, Sean John Clothing LLC and Universal Music Inc. failed neglectingly deemed that Combs was fit to be a person in position of authority and or that any previous suitability problem Combs had were fixed and cured and or that Combs would not commit act of sexual assault and or that Combs would not injure others. Number 108. Moreover, defendant Bad Boys Records, Sean John Clothing LLC and Universal Music Group Inc. enabled the sexual abuse of plaintiff by actively maintaining and employing Combs in a position of power and authority through which Combs had control over people, including plaintiff. 109. As a direct and proximate result of the aforementioned crime of violence and gender motivated violence, plaintiff has sustained and will continue to sustain monetary damage, physical injury, pain and suffering, and serious psychological and emotional distress. Entitling her, see, they put her on this one, her to an award of compensatory of punitive damage, injunctive, and declaratory relief, attorney fees and costs, and other remedies as this court may deem appropriate damage as set forth in 10-1104. Jury demand, plaintiff demand trial by jury of all issues. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff respectively requests a judgment against the defendant, declaring the defendant Combs engaged in unlawful practice prohibiting by the New York City Victims of Agenda Motivated Violence Protection Act in that Combs drugged and sexually assaulted plaintiff. B. Declaring the defendant Bad Boys Records, Sean John Clothing LLC, and Universal Music Inc. engage in unlawful practice prohibited by the New York City Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act in that they enable defendant Combs commission of the crime of violence motivated by gender. Award plaintiff compensatory damage for mental and emotional injury, distress, pain, and suffering, and injure for her reputation in an amount to be proven. Awarding plaintiff damage for defendant's breach of contract, awarding plaintiff punitive damage, awarding plaintiff attorney fees and costs and expenses incurred in the prosecution of action, and awarding plaintiff such other and further relief as the court may deem equitable, just, and proper to remedy defendant unlawful practices. Date, New York, New York, May 21st, 2024. Phillips and Associate. All right, y'all, that's the lawsuit. I am about to end this, and we can go start our we can start the YSL. You don't see an issue with my reading? Oh, people complaining about my reading? It's okay. Okay. It's fine. My reading skill could be bad. You know what? You can go and find somebody else to read that. How about that? All right, let me get off this live and go on to my next one. I'll see you guys in a minute.